They say you don't choose your neighbors, destiny does. But what do you do when destiny places a predator right across the hallway? My name is Mark, and I used to believe in the safety of locks, the warmth of a home, and the basic decency of strangers. That all changed the night I realized that the thin drywall of my apartment wasn't a barrier. It was a curtain, and someone had been peering through the cracks the entire time. If you're sitting in your living room right now, thinking you're alone, look at your shadow. Are you sure it's yours? Because after tonight, you might never look at your neighbors the same way again. I moved into the Sterling Heights complex in early 2024. It was a sleek, modern building in a quiet part of the city. I was 26, working a high-stress job in finance, and I just wanted a place where I could collapse at the end of the day. The apartment, 4B, was perfect. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a neighbor who seemed non-existent. The man in 4A was named Arthur. I only saw him once during the first month. He was tall, thin, and moved with a strange, deliberate slowness, like he was underwater. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He just stared at my feet as I walked past him. I shrugged it off. In the city, weird is just another word for private. I was happy to have a neighbor who didn't blast music or have loud parties. But then, the quiet became heavy. It wasn't the silence of an empty room. It was the silence of someone holding their breath. It started with the scratching. At first, I thought it was the pipes. Every night, around 2:15 a.m., a faint, rhythmic sound would come from the wall sharing my bedroom with Arthur's unit. Scrape, scrape, scrape. It sounded like someone was taking a coin and slowly dragging it against the paint. I ignored it for a week. Then, I started noticing the smells. Not the smell of cooking or laundry, but a sharp, chemical scent, like bleach mixed with something metallic. It would waft through the vents at odd hours. One night, I went into the hallway to see if there was a leak. As I stood there, I looked at Arthur's door. There were no lights on inside, no flickering of a TV. But when I leaned closer, I heard a sound that made the hair on my arms stand up. It was the sound of a camera shutter. Click. I stepped back, my heart pounding. I looked at the peephole of his door. I could swear the glass darkened for a split second, as if an eye had just pressed against it. The neighborly interactions began 2 weeks later. I found a gift on my welcome mat. It was a small, hand-carved wooden bird. It was beautiful, but there was no note. I assumed it was from the elderly lady in 4C, so I kept it on my bookshelf. The next day, there was another. A small, silver key. It didn't fit my lock. Then, a photograph. My blood turned to ice when I saw it. It was a photo of me, taken from behind, as I was unlocking my front door. It had been taken from the hallway. On the back, in cramped, shaky handwriting, were the words, "You look so tired when you come home. I could help you sleep." I went straight to the building manager. She looked at the photo, looked at me, and sighed. She told me Arthur had lived there for 10 years and never had a complaint. She suggested it might be a misunderstanding or a prank by kids. She refused to call the police. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my sofa with a kitchen knife, watching the door. Around 3 a.m., the scratching started again. But this time, it wasn't on the wall. It was on my front door. It was slow, deliberate, and low down, near the floor. I crept toward the door, my feet silent on the hardwood. I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. The motion sensor lights were off. I was about to turn away when I saw a sliver of white sliding under my door. It was a piece of paper. I picked it up. It wasn't a note. It was a floor plan of my apartment. My bedroom was circled in red. Underneath it was a single time, 3:15 a.m. I looked at my watch. It was 3:14 a.m. Suddenly, the vent in my ceiling rattled. I looked up, and for a heartbeat, I saw a pair of pale, wide eyes staring down at me through the slats. I screamed, and the eyes vanished. I heard the sound of someone scrambling through the ductwork toward the neighboring unit. I didn't call the manager this time. I called 911. While I waited for the police, I heard a heavy thud from Arthur's apartment. Then, the sound of breaking glass. When the officers arrived, they knocked on 4A. No answer. Given the circumstances, they forced entry. I stood in the hallway, shaking as they entered. The apartment was empty of furniture. There was no bed, no sofa, no table. The walls were covered, thousands of them, with photos of me. Photos of me at the grocery store, me at work, me sleeping through my bedroom window. But the most horrifying part was the wall shared with my bedroom. Arthur had painstakingly scraped away the drywall from his side until only a paper-thin layer of paint remained. He hadn't been scratching. He had been carving a window. The police found the vent open. Arthur was gone. He had escaped through the building's ventilation system before they could block the exits. They found his nest in the attic space above my unit, a small area filled with my discarded mail and a single blood-stained pillow. I moved out that same morning. I didn't even pack everything. I left the wooden bird and the silver key behind. They never caught Arthur. The police say he was a drifter who had stolen the identity of the real Arthur years ago. Now, I live in a house with no shared walls. I have a security system that costs more than my car. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear a faint scratching sound. I tell myself it's the wind. I tell myself it's a squirrel on the roof. But then I remember the feeling of those eyes in the vent. And I wonder, did he find my new address? Next time you hear a noise in your wall, don't assume it's the pipes. Your neighbor might be closer than you think. Sleep tight, if you can.